Yeah! Hello trainers, Professor Palm here. Sorry about making the big splash, but I had to do it. After all, we're in the month of June, and I welcome all of you trainers to Summer Splash. For those of you who remember last year, I talked only about water-type Pokemon for Summer Splash. And for those of you who are new, well, that's the same gist of it. We're talking all about water-type Pokemon for the month of June. After all, the summer has began, and it's pretty hot out there. I think the best way to stay cool is going to the pool, the beach, or even the lake. Water-type Pokemon are some of the most incredible out there. Not only are they Junichi Matsuda's favorite typing, but they currently have the most amount of Pokemon than any other typing out there. Pretty cool, huh? So, for the month of June, I hope that you water-type lovers are excited to talk about so many water-type Pokemon. But where should I begin with that incredible amount of Pokemon? Well, I know exactly where to start, and it starts with a little story. We had just moved to the Hoenn region in Little Root Town. Father was just setting up his gym as he had been stationed there in Petalburg, while Mother was finishing the unpacking. Being the curious child we were, we went looking all around the town to meet the professor. We first met the kid, but that wasn't enough. As we were looking, a young man told us that there was something going on Route 101. As we went there, we saw Professor Birch, not doing research, but rather being chased by a wild Pokemon. In his panic, he called to us to save him. We opened the bag and found 3 Pokemon, Torchic, Mudkip, and Trico. The choice was ours. We had to release one to protect him. This may have been one of the most panicky situations we've ever been in, but if you really think about it, this is how our legend began. When it comes to the Hoenn starters, as many of you know, when I started my journey in the Hoenn region, well, my very first journey with my Emerald version, I started off with the Torchic line. They were the first Pokemon I ever got, and I'm pretty sure that many of you out there also went with the Torchic line, but if you didn't, there were other options. I'm sure that for many of you, Torchic wasn't on your list and you went in a different direction. Maybe you wanted to go for a challenge, or you were looking for some fun and you went with the Trico line. They are a great line to have as well. They're very loyal, and having them on your side will always ensure you plenty of victories. But then we have plenty of trainers out there who are extremely smart and play it safe, knowing what's going on out there. Seeing that the whole region is an island and that there's too much water, not just with the town map, but also IGN's score, you knew that you needed a water-type Pokemon ASAP, and you went with Mudkip, Marshtomp, and Swampert. And I gotta say, if you were one of those people, kudos to you. You made a smart choice. Well then again, trainers, this is a question that pertains only to you. There's no wrong choice. It's whatever you feel is the right Pokemon for you is the one you start off with. And whatever you start off with, I hope you had a wonderful journey with and you learned a lot about that partner of yours. With that being said, I thought the greatest way to start off Summer Splash was actually starting with a starter. There are so many Pokemon to choose as a water-type starter, but to me, I see Mudkip, Marshtomp, and Swampert as some of the most standout ones. Not just because of their typings, not just because they were the first water-type Pokemon I ever met, but a lot of us have very fond memories with these little muddy buddies. For those of you who went on your Hoenn journeys, or any journey, and had a Mudkip by your side, which evolved into Marshtomp and then Swampert, I hope that you had very fond memories of these mudfish. But for those of you who never started with Mudkip and have always pushed it aside, I think this might be a time to see something brand new. You can learn a brand new side of the water, even if it's a little bit dirty. These Pokemon are actually, in my opinion, some of the most unique water-type Pokemon you will ever meet. While we've had plenty of dual-type starters, and dual-type is nothing new, what really does impress me the most about this line is the 2 elements they put together. I'm sure that they have been done before with Quagsire and Wooper, but I've always been interested in combining 2 different elements. We have water, and then we take ground. Fuse them together, and we get this incredible line. And if you really think about it, this is kind of what our planet is made of. Not just with grass, but it's made of a lot of water and plenty of ground. Well, I think it's time we learn everything we need to know about Mudkip, Swampert, and Marshtomp. Unfortunately, this is going to be some messy work for me. Thankfully, you don't really have to worry whatsoever. After all, you're just watching me do the whole situation. I'm glad I brought a pair of boots and a spare lab coat. Oh boy, I am gonna be so muddy after this is done. So, let's talk all about this line. But before we do that, I want to give a very special thanks to fellow subscriber, Mitt. You requested me to do this video, and I hope that you enjoy it to the fullest. You started off with Mudkip for your Hoenn journey, and I hope that it served you well. But you're not the only one that I'm going to be thanking today. Techronova, I want to give you a very special thanks for my shirt. If you like shirts I wear with these designs and you think I look great in them, I think you'll look even better if you buy a shirt from Techronova. I have a link to her Etsy page in the description below, so please check her out and maybe buy a shirt. Also, be sure to tell her Professor Palm sent you. After all, why wear silly stock image t-shirts when you can have an amazing design just like this? This one is called the Waterkip Within, and since we're talking about Mudkip, Marshtomp, and Swampert, I couldn't think of a better shirt to wear than this one. So, show Techronova that you really like these designs and buy a shirt from her. I may not be sponsored, but of course, I just want to say thank you for designing such an amazing shirt. Well, I know I'm gonna get pretty dirty from this, but that's life. And I think it's time that we hop around the bog and go into the mudslide with the little mudfish itself, Mudkip! Mudkip the mudfish Pokemon is based on the reptile, the mud puppy, and the mud skipper. But Mudkip also draws inspiration from the amphibian, the oxawaddle. For its habitat, Mudkip can be found in swamps and other wetlands, or any place that has mud, as Mudkip adore mud, and they love having the feeling of mud all around them and all over them. However, sadly, Mudkip are commonly found in captivity rather than being in the wild. Mudkip are amphibious Pokemon. They live on both the land and underwater. After all, Mudkip is the mudfish Pokemon. Mudkip are very strong despite their size. On land, Mudkip can lift heavy boulders by planting its 4 feet and heaving. Honestly, Mudkip don't seem to mind the extra weight, and they can carry these boulders as well as big rocks without any problem whatsoever. Mudkip have so much strength in their tiny paws, tail, and fin. They're so strong that a Mudkip can slice through a big boulder as if it was a warm knife going through a stick of butter. In the water, Mudkip enjoy playing with any other Mudkip or other Pokemon they find, and they swim with ease. Most of all, they really like murky water as well as muddy waters. As I said, Mudkip are great swimmers. This is all thanks to its large tail fin, which propels Mudkip through the water with powerful acceleration. It also helps it steer flawlessly. With how fast Mudkip is in the water, sometimes people call them little speedboats. And they'd be right. Mudkip are incredibly fast swimmers, and they can catch anything very quickly. When looking at Mudkip's face, one thing that you cannot ignore are its yellow gills. These gills not only help Mudkip breathe underwater, but they also act as a filter system, and they keep out toxic and contaminated waters, so Mudkip can breathe easily and it doesn't get anything backed up in its system. When in battle, if Mudkip is faced with a sticky situation, instead of running away, cowering in defeat, or surrendering, Mudkip will unleash its amazing water power. Its water-type moves it unleashes become so powerful, they can crush boulders 10 times bigger than it. Sometimes a move like Water Gun can become as powerful as Hydro Pump. The fin on Mudkip's head acts as a highly sensitive radar. Using this fin, Mudkip can sense the movements of the water and the air. All in all, Mudkip can determine what's taking place all around it without opening its eyes. Speaking of which, it looks like my Mudkip is tired and is about to take a nap. Shh! Be very, very quiet. My Mudkip is trying to rest. When Mudkip's trying to sleep, it can do one of two things. They can either bury themselves in the soil at the water's edge, or they can go to the bottom of the river and cover themselves with mud. Oh no! Mudkip woke up! Don't worry, we were all quiet enough. What actually woke up Mudkip was the weather. It started raining very close by where I am. Mudkip's fin can also tell what weather is coming, and Mudkip can be very helpful for when you want to know what today's weather will bring. since we've just entered hurricane season, Mudkip might be getting a lot of sensitive readings on its fin. After all, there's a lot of storms coming. Mudkip are some of the most friendliest Pokemon you will ever meet. They love making new friends, and they really enjoy taking their friends swimming as well as giving them mud baths. If you're starting off in the Hoenn region and don't know who to choose, I would say maybe go with Mudkip if you want to make friends. Also, Mudkip is very docile, and it will always obey your orders without a single question. Mudkip made its anime debut in the Pokemon Advanced pilot episode, Get the Show on the Road, where it was picked by May to save Professor Birch from a pack of angry Poochyena. May told Mudkip to use Water Gun. Instead, Mudkip disobeyed May's command and used Water Gun right on her face. Because of this event, this led May to not want to start off with Mudkip for her journey. Also in the anime, Ash's buddy Brock himself caught a Mudkip in the Pokemon Advanced episode, A Mudkip Mission. Not only after seeing what a great team they would be, but after realizing this Mudkip was older and much more mature than all the other ones, and it needed a friend. This became the first time that Brock ever had a starter Pokemon on his team, and sadly, the only time ever. In the core series games, Mudkip is the ace of your rival May or Brendan, but only in their first battle, and only if you start off your game with Torchic. In the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series, Mudkip is a selectable character for you to either play as, or you can also select it to be your partner. In the Pokemon Adventures manga, Mudkip was chosen by protagonist Ruby when he and Sapphire saved Professor Birch from a pack of angry Poochyena. Ruby went on to name his Mudkip Moo Moo. Mudkip has definitely been known to make a splash, as Nintendo of Europe had a poll of what's everyone's favorite water-type starter. Mudkip took first place, with Blastoise following just behind it by a close second. So, I heard you like Mudkips. I'm sorry, I had to do that. Everyone knows that. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it's true. A lot of us really love this adorable little mudfish. Unfortunately, Mudkip can't stay cute forever, and it needs to evolve. So, I think we should go around the bog and get even stronger to see what other wetlands and other marshes await us when we evolve our little Mudkip into Marshtomp. Yep, here we go, skipping around the bog with this wonderful mud skipper. Marshtomp the Mudfish Pokemon is based on the reptile, the Mud Puppy, as well as the Mud Skipper. It also is possibly based on the amphibian, the Axolotl, just like with its previous evolution in Mudkip. Did you know that Marshtomp broke the water-type trend? You see, Marshtomp is the only middle evolution of a water-type starter to gain a dual typing through evolution. As you know, Marshtomp gains the ground typing. Before it, and even after it, no other water-type Pokemon has ever done the same thing. It makes you wonder, why didn't they do this for all the starters? I know that Combusken gained the fighting typing when it evolved, and even Marshtomp, as we know, gained the ground typing. I wonder why they didn't do the same thing for Grovyle. Would have been great if they did this. Sadly enough, Water and Fire are the only starters that have gained a dual typing in their second stage. Grass has sadly never had that happen yet. For its habitat, Marshtomp loves mud. In fact, these Pokemon go crazy when they find mud, so they live in muddy places as well as wet places, like bogs, swamps, and other wetlands. The surface of Marshtomp's body is enveloped by a thin, sticky film that allows Marshtomp to live on both the land and the sea. Oh yeah, I guess I should have mentioned earlier, just like with its previous evolution in Mudkip, Marshtomp is an amphibious Pokemon. The orange gills on Marshtomp's face allow it to breathe underwater. They also act as a filter system. Since Marshtomp like to go swimming in muddy and murky water, there is a lot of bacteria in there. Thankfully, this filter system allows them to swim through that with ease and not get sick whatsoever. Marshtomp does have a major weakness. Being a mudfish, Marshtomp will get weaker if its skin dries out. Because of this, it always likes to play in the mud. You'll often find them frolicking in it and absorbing all the water in there as it plays. If you're afraid of dirt and you like to call yourself a clean freak, then I would suggest staying far away from Marshtomp. mainly for the fact that Marshtomp really love to get down and dirty. They like to play a lot of sports, and they really like rolling around in the mud. But most of all, they like to take mud baths, and some of them have even been known to give themselves mud facials. It does make you wonder, do you think the idea of mud baths, mud facials, everything that happens at the spa with mud was inspired by Marshtomp? If you look at Marshtomp from behind, you'll notice one of its standout feature, its twin fins on its hindquarters. You see, these fins get larger over time, and they also provide very good balance for a Marshtomp. As you may recall, when Marshtomp was a Mudkip, it was on 4 legs, but now that it's evolved, it now stands on 2 legs. Since it now can walk on 2 legs instead of walking on 4, Marshtomp can be very off balance and it can fall a lot of times. But thanks to the twin fins on its hindquarters, this provides Marshtomp the perfect amount of balance, and after a little bit, it'll easily learn to walk on 2 legs. Oh, on an interesting note, these twin fins also make it very fast in the water. Since it only had 1 fin as a Mudkip, with 2, it can now go twice as fast as it used to. Since Marshtomp live on muddy grounds, this provides poor footing. But because of this poor footing, this makes Marshtomp's legs very sturdy. However, on an interesting note, despite having these very sturdy legs, Marshtomp cannot learn any kicking moves through leveling up. Despite being a water-type Pokemon, Marshtomp is much faster at traveling through the mud than it is at swimming. Don't get me wrong, Marshtomp is still a great swimmer and it's very fast. But if you're going to compare its travel through the mud versus the travel through the water, the mud wins by a huge margin. Marshtomp have a home field advantage, especially in battling. When foes or intruders come into their area, Marshtomp can easily overwhelm them with all the mud. Since Marshtomp are so fast on the mud, their opponents oftentimes fall over, get stuck, and are overwhelmed by them very easily. And because of all this mud around them, I guess you could say Marshtomp like to fight dirty. Speaking of mud and getting dirty, Marshtomp love mud so much, they take it to the extreme. When they feel tired and they want to rest, they burrow into the mud. After all, the mud not only makes them nice and wet, but it also gives them a calm and relaxed feeling that they cannot sleep without. Marshtomp made its anime debut in the Pokemon Advanced episode, Abandoned Ship, where it was under the ownership of Tommy. Tommy had lost his Marshtomp and began searching for it. By the time he found it and reunited with it, it had evolved into a Swampert. In the Battle Frontier episode, A Chip Off the Old Brock, Brock himself got a Marshtomp when his Mudkip evolved into Marshtomp during a practice battle with Ash's Grovyle. During the fight, Marshtomp also learned the move Mud Shot. In the Core Series games, Marshtomp is the ace of your rival Brendan or May if you start off with Torchic in Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Omega Ruby, and Alpha Sapphire. However, only in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, this was as far as May and Brendan would ever have their starter go, as it would not evolve any further, making them the first rivals to not fully evolve their starter Pokemon. In Generation 3, before many other Pokemon could learn the move Muddy Water was the signature move of Marshtomp, which makes sense. After all, it is our Muddy Buddy. In the Pokemon Adventures manga, Ruby's Mudkip, which he nicknamed Moo Moo, evolved into Marshtomp upon his arrival at Slateport City in the volume Tripped Up by a Torkoal. It became a major rival and thorn at the side of Team Magma, especially the Team Magma admin, Blaze. Being our Muddy Buddy, you knew that Marshtomp was going to get down and dirty. Well, if you really like going even further into the mud as well as going all around the bog, then oh boy, have I got an even dirtier Pokemon to show you. I guess that we should go to the extreme, and we'll go groundwater style. Let's evolve our little Marshtomp into Swampert. Oh boy, I think we're hopping around the bayou now, because here comes the beast of the swamp. Swampert the Mudfish Pokemon is based on the reptiles, the Mud Puppy, and the Mud Skipper. It also could possibly be based on the amphibian, the Oxawaddle, just like with its previous evolutions in Mudkip and Marshtomp. For its habitat, Swampert prefer to live on beautiful beaches. Swampert protects its seaside nest by piling up boulders in order to keep intruders out. Swampert is the odd one out for habitats. Unlike with its previous evolutions that like the swampy area, Swampert really likes to live in salt water and be around the beach. The big head fins on Swampert's head really come in handy, especially for predicting weather as well as what's going on with the ocean. With hurricane season coming, we really will need a Swampert on patrol. Swampert's head fin predicts storms by sensing the subtle differences in the sound of waves coming on the beach. When a storm's approaching, Swampert will take immediate action. It'll pile up boulders to protect itself. And if you're a trainer to one, Swampert will do the same, as it will always go above and beyond to protect its loved ones. Despite Swampert having small eyes, it has very powerful vision. Swampert's sight is so good, it can see clearly through even the dirtiest and murkiest of water. Oh, and the orange fins on Swampert's cheeks not only allow it to breathe under any sort of water, but they also act as a great filter system. Swampert is very strong, and on the beach, they enjoy working out. They really like to work out their muscles the most. How they do that is they like to drag boulders weighing more than a ton and even lift them. Oftentimes, Swampert will put these around and make it their nest. After all, these boulders are so heavy that very few Pokemon can get rid of them. So, this is pretty much how Swampert says, "This is my territory." Thanks to lifting all those heavy boulders, Swampert's arms are ripped and they're as hard as rocks. One swing from a Swampert can batter down foes. I guess you could say that Swampert is a little bit of the One-Punch Man in the Pokemon world. The strength of Swampert's arms is so strong, even the heaviest of boulders will be smashed to smithereens the moment Swampert punches one. Because of Swampert's incredible strength, you'll oftentimes see them being used at shipyards or helping at the harbor with heavy freight. They have no trouble towing in large ships. Even a large cargo ship can be brought to shore with Swampert's strength. Some are even used by rescue teams to tow in stranded ships. Swampert are incredible swimmers, and nothing slows them down. When it's using its full power, a Swampert can swim as fast as a jet ski. Lots of lifeguards and rescue teams keep Swampert on hand because Swampert is a very strong swimmer, and if someone's drowning or in trouble, Swampert will go in and save them. After all, it's quick to the rescue. Despite Swampert's appearance, it's a very gentle, social, and friendly Pokemon to approach. In fact, the only thing bigger than Swampert's muscles is its heart. Just like with its previous evolution in Marshtomp, Swampert covers itself with mud and water to keep its skin moist. While the salt water is fine, it unfortunately dries quickly, so oftentimes Swampert will try to make its own mud to cover its skin with. And it's even been said that the mud that Swampert makes is really good for your skin as well. While Swampert is a very powerful Pokemon and one of the greatest swimmers in the Hoenn region, with Generation 6 and the games Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, we got to see how much stronger Swampert could be when it undergoes Mega Evolution. Thanks to Professor Sycamore's research in the Kalos region, we finally got to see Swampert when it became a beast. With Mega Evolution, Swampert Mega evolves into Mega Swampert. Trust me, you don't want to mess with this beast of the beach and the swamp. Mega Evolution has caused Swampert to become one of the fastest water creatures alive. Mega Swampert is such a fast swimmer that it can swim around the entire world in just an hour, and it can get from region to region in just minutes. The rock-hard arms filled with muscle have grown even bulkier when Swampert has undergone Mega Evolution. Swampert was strong enough to pick up boulders, but now Mega Swampert is strong enough to carry an entire mountain, and with all that muscles, a single punch from a Mega Swampert can even make a tank go flying. Mega Swampert is proud of its Mega power, and rightfully so. Very few Pokemon challenge a Mega Swampert to a battle. Seeing that it now has 3 little fins on its head that resemble a crown, I guess you could say that Mega Swampert is both the king of the beach and king of the swamp. Swampert truly is one of the handful of Mega Evolution Pokemon that really is one that goes Mega. It's like it's saying, I'm either going big or going home. And let me tell you, that thing went huge. Not just Mega, it went ginormous. If you're afraid of the water and what hides within it, if you have a Mega Swampert with you, everything in the water will instead fear you. Swampert made its anime debut in the Pokemon Advanced episode, Abandoned Ship, where it was revealed that Tommy had lost his Marshtomp. Marshtomp had evolved into Swampert. It at first had come to believe that Tommy had abandoned it, but after Swampert's memory was rehabilitated, Swampert and Tommy reunited and became the best of buddies again. In the Core Series games, Swampert is the ace of your rival Brendan or May if you start off your adventure with Torchic in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Only in these games do you get one final battle with them on Route 103, and they Mega Evolve them. This makes it the first time in the Core Series that your rival ever used Mega Evolution for a rival battle. In Pokemon Emerald, when you go to Battle Frontier, Swampert also serves as the main as well as ace Pokemon of Frontier Brain, Tucker. In Generation 3, before any other Pokemon could learn the move, the signature move of Swampert was Muddy Water. After all, this is the Mudfish Pokemon, and it's our muddy buddy. In the Pokemon Adventures manga, Ruby's Marshtomp, which he nicknamed Moo Moo, evolved into Swampert in the issue Masterclass with Master Rain. After his conclusive battles against Team Aqua and Team Magma, he teamed up with Sapphire and her Blaziken, which she named Chick. Oh, when Megas became a thing, thanks to Generation 6 and Professor Sycamore's research, Moo Moo also was able to undergo Mega Evolution. Mudkip is the only odd one out of the family. Being a pure Water-type Pokemon, Mudkip has different weaknesses and different strengths than its other evolutions. For Mudkip's weaknesses, when you go to battle, make sure it does not battle Pokemon that have the moves that are Grass-type and Electric-type. Only 2 weaknesses. Huh, that's pretty good. But I think we should see what the rest of Mudkip's line has. After all, Mudkip is the only pure Water-type, and when the others evolve, they gain the Ground typing. I wonder what they're weak to. When it comes to the weaknesses of Swampert and Marshtomp, being ground and water, they only have one, and that of course is to Grass-type attacks. Pretty interesting to think that in all the years we've had starter Pokemon, Marshtomp and Swampert are the only ones to have a single weakness. Of course it's times 4 weak to Grass-type since they're water and ground, but it is pretty interesting that no other Pokemon that's a water type has ever had that. Well, seeing that these are their only weaknesses, we should move on to seeing their strengths, and let's start with Mudkip. When Mudkip goes for battle, it has a bunch of strengths. Being a pure Water-type Pokemon, Mudkip has moves that are super effective on Rock-type, Ground-type, and Fire-type. Wow, 3 strengths. That really does make up for its 2 weaknesses. But seeing that Mudkip gains the Ground typing when it evolves into Marshtomp and then finally Swampert, we should check out what the rest of its evolutionary line has for strengths. After all, they had one major weakness, but I think it's time to see how much stronger they can be. Even though Marshtomp and Swampert have a times 4 weakness, it's pretty cool that it's only 1. When it comes to strengths, oh boy, being water and ground, they have a lot. And with those moves, they're super effective on Pokemon that are Fire-type, Ground-type, Rock-type, Steel-type, Poison-type, and Electric-type. But wait! There's more! Swampert and Marshtomp, being water and ground, are completely immune to Electric-type attacks. That's right, Electric-type Pokemon. These 2 can't feel your thunder. For abilities, being that Mudkip, Marshtomp, and Swampert are all Water-type starters, they all have the same ability, being Torrent. Torrent powers up Water-type moves when any of them have low HP and are in trouble. For those of you who like to battle competitively using hidden abilities introduced in the 5th generation, Mudkip, Marshtomp, and Swampert all have the same hidden ability, being Damp, which prevents the use of explosive moves and it dampens all of its surroundings. When Swampert Mega evolves into Mega Swampert, it gains a new ability, Swift Swim, which boosts Swampert's speed stat if it's raining. The first time I saw Mudkip, Marshtomp, and Swampert, I thought that they were terrible Pokemon. I thought they were ugly, and I thought they were some of the worst water types ever. But I'm happy to say, as years go on, I was wrong. After doing a few Nuzzlockes with Mudkip, Marshtomp, and Swampert, I'm happy to say they are some of the most loyal and greatest Pokemon to take you all throughout the Hoenn region. After all, it's an island, and starting off with a Water-type Pokemon is a very smart move. As you know, being Mudfish Pokemon, Mudkip, Marshtomp, and Swampert love mud. everything they do relies on mud. But on a very interesting note, I think that these Pokemon beat dermatologists as well as cosmetics to the game. You know why? Because if you look very carefully at them, you'll notice Mudkip, Marshtomp, and Swampert have very good skin and they barely show their age. I guess a lot of people caught on to that and thought, wow, if they look that good, maybe the mud could be good for our skin as well. It's highly possible that because of these three Pokemon, many spas have the mud option. Do you want to know something that's so cool about Marshtomp, Swampert, and Mudkip? It's their orange gills. Now, you might be thinking, it's just gills, how are these impressive? Well, out of all water type starters we've never had something like this. Not only do their gills allow them to breathe underwater, but they act as the world's most incredible filter system. Swampert, Marshtomp, and Mudkip can go in any water, swim anywhere, and they will not be poisoned or hurt by any bacteria. So, if you want to get from place to place, but the water might be too strong and it might be filled with something unknown, jump on their back. They will get you anywhere you need without any hassle whatsoever. As Miss Frizzle once said from the Magic School Bus, take chances, make mistakes, get messy. Well, when you go with Mudkip, Marshtomp, and Swampert, truer words have never been spoken. These Pokemon will teach you so many incredible skills when you're out on your own in the wild. Not just in the Hoenn region, but in any region. And if you're a fan of water-type Pokemon, or you really like ground-type Pokemon, I would personally say, go get this line as fast as you can. You might get a little bit dirty, but hey, that's the price you pay when you play with the Muddy Buddies. Welcome back, trainers! I hope you had a fabulous time with Swampert, Marshtomp, and Mudkip. Where did you like that you visited the best of their habitats? The bogs, the swamps, or even the beaches? Well, I have a few questions for you. Out of all 9 generations, who's your favorite water-type starter? And what was the very first water-type starter you ever went with? In Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, out of Blaziken, Swampert, and Sceptile, who do you think had the best Mega Evolution? And who do you think had the worst Mega Evolution? Do you think Water and Ground is a great typing for a starter? Or do you think that they should have gone in a different direction? Also, if you had a water starter, what typing would you have it, or would you want it to stay pure? Do you think Ash Ketchum should have captured himself a Mudkip when he was in the Hoenn region, or do you think it belonged better with Brock? After all, this was the very first time Ash did not have a water-type starter on his team. And if you've played any of the Hoenn games, Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Omega Ruby, and Alpha Sapphire, who was the Pokemon you chose from Professor Birch's bag on Route 101 on that fateful day? Summer Splash has just begun. I hope that you all stay tuned to see what else is coming. And if you liked what you saw, please leave a like. If you have any questions, you want me to cover another Pokemon, you want me to cover something else Pokemon related, or you have an idea that you want turned into a video, please comment. And as always, if you liked what you saw and you want to see more, smash that subscribe button. Mitt, I hope that you really enjoyed this video to the fullest, and thank you for requesting it. Thanks for watching, trainers. Palm out!